You are in a room. The room is beautiful. It is in a private estate, an exclusive property that costs $400 a night at minimum. Or maybe it was offered to you free of charge, a gift, a hospitality suite, a private residence that belongs to someone who wanted you there. The bed has 1,600 thread count sheets. There is a bar stocked with things you didn't order. The view is extraordinary. You do not know that in the smoke detector above the bed, there is a lens. You do not know that inside the clock on the nightstand, there is a microphone. You do not know that every conversation, every action, every moment of vulnerability you have had in this room has been recorded. You do not know that the footage is stored on a server you will never find, and that someone, somewhere, has already watched it. This is not a movie. This happened in America, in properties you recognize, to people whose names you know. And in at least 3 documented cases, the footage was used to make them do things they never would have done otherwise. Welcome to Blackmail houses. Welcome to Apex Abode. Before we go further, I need to establish something clearly. Every property in this video is documented. Every claim is sourced. The surveillance systems I'm going to describe, some have been confirmed in federal criminal proceedings, some in civil litigation, some in congressional testimony, some in evidence presented to the FBI. This is not speculation. This is public record. The specific challenge with this subject is that most of the people involved, both those who installed the systems and those who were recorded, have extremely powerful reasons to keep this quiet. Victims don't want exposure. Operators don't want prosecution. Lawyers on both sides have signed agreements that prevent disclosure, which means the full scope of what I'm about to describe is almost certainly larger than what I can prove tonight. I can prove 6 properties. I believe there are dozens. By the end of this video, you will believe that too. Case 1, Palm Beach County, Florida, a private residential estate, 42,000 square feet, 11 bedrooms, private dock, located in one of the most exclusive zip codes in the United States. The property hosted an extraordinary range of guests between 2001 and 2019. Business leaders, politicians, at least 2 sitting U.S. senators, according to documented visitor logs, a member of the British royal family, multiple individuals who, at the time of their visits, were under FBI investigation for unrelated matters. In 2019, federal investigators executing a search warrant at a related property discovered what the warrant described as, quote, a sophisticated covert surveillance infrastructure integrated into the residential architecture, end quote. Specifically, hidden cameras in at least 14 rooms, including 8 bedrooms, audio recording devices in the main sitting room, the dining room, and what the documents describe as a massage suite. All devices fed to a dedicated encrypted server maintained by a private security contractor in Luxembourg. The person who owned this property has been extensively covered in major media. I will not name them because the naming is not the point of this video. The point is what happened to the footage. According to testimony provided to federal investigators by a former employee of the property, who was granted immunity in exchange for cooperation, the recorded footage was reviewed on a weekly basis. Specific recordings involving specific guests were catalogued and indexed. The employee testified, and I am reading from the actual transcript, which is public record. There was a library, That's the word that was used internally. The library. I was told that the library was the most important asset the property held. Not the art. Not the real estate. The library. A library of recordings of their guests. And according to a separate civil suit filed in 2021, 3 of those recordings were used to influence decisions made by individuals who appear in them. Financial decisions, regulatory decisions, political decisions. Palm Beach is Case 1. Here are 3 more. Case 2. A corporate retreat property in Virginia wine country. 240 acres. Used extensively between 2008 and 2016 for off-the-record corporate negotiations and government-adjacent meetings. In 2017, a former security contractor filed a whistleblower complaint with the SEC alleging that surveillance footage from this property had been used to obtain advanced knowledge of at least 2 merger negotiations before they were publicly announced. The complaint was settled. The terms are sealed. The property changed hands in 2018 for an amount described in county records only as consideration received. Consideration received. That's all the deed says. Case 3. A resort compound in Sun Valley, Idaho. 3 private lodges, regularly used during the annual Sun Valley Conference, one of the most influential private gatherings of technology and media executives in the world. A civil suit filed in 2020 by a former property manager alleged specifically that 2 of the lodges had been equipped with audio recording devices without the knowledge of guests. The suit was dismissed on procedural grounds, not on the merits, on procedural grounds. The former property manager now lives in another country. Case 4. Manhattan. A luxury cooperative apartment, 17 rooms, that served, functionally, as a hospitality property for a foreign government's trade delegation between 2011 and 2019. The FBI's counterintelligence division opened an investigation in 2019. The investigation remains open. The apartment remains occupied. By whom? We were unable to confirm. But the building's current management company is registered in the British Virgin Islands. 4 properties, 4 documented surveillance systems, 4 sets of footage, the location of which, in at least 2 cases, is still not publicly known. Let me explain technically how these systems are installed, because understanding the engineering is essential to understanding how it went undetected. Modern covert residential surveillance, at the level we're describing, is not a GoPro and a smoke detector. It is a professionally integrated system, designed and installed by contractors who, in most cases, are former intelligence community personnel. A typical installation in the properties we've documented involves 3 layers. Layer 1. Audio. Directional microphones integrated into HVAC returns, electrical conduit, and structural walls. These are powered by the building's existing electrical infrastructure. They produce no visible hardware. Detection requires a professional RF sweep, a service that costs, in 2025, approximately $12,000 per room. Most people do not sweep their hotel rooms. Layer 2. Video. Pinhole cameras installed inside standard fixtures, smoke detectors, clock radios, light switches, outlet covers. The cameras used in Case 1 had a resolution of 4K and a 140-degree field of view. The smoke detector housing they were installed in was indistinguishable, visually, from an unmodified unit. Layer 3. Transmission. Footage does not travel over the property's network. It uses a dedicated cellular uplink to an encrypted server outside the jurisdiction. In 2 of our documented cases, the servers were located in jurisdictions that do not recognize American criminal warrants. The legal implication? Even if you discover the recording, the footage may be physically inaccessible to U.S. law enforcement. Designed that way from the beginning. The Palm Beach compound is extraordinary. Whatever else it is, whatever else was happening inside it, it is an extraordinary piece of architecture. The main residence is 22,000 square feet of Italian marble and hand-carved mahogany. The ceiling of the main dining room was commissioned from an Italian artisan in Florence. It took 3 years to complete. The guest bedrooms feature original artwork, pieces that, individually, are worth more than the average American home. The massage suite, the one specifically mentioned in the federal warrant, overlooks a private garden. The windows are floor to ceiling. The light at dawn, according to every account we've found, is extraordinary. And somewhere inside that room, looking down from a ceiling fixture, was a camera. The Virginia property has a wine cellar that holds 11,000 bottles, curated by a sommelier on permanent staff. The main conference room, the one where the federal whistleblower alleges merger discussions were recorded, has hand-laid stone floors and a view across 200 acres of Virginia vineyard. Every beautiful room in each of these properties has the same quality. It makes the person inside it feel safe, protected, exclusive, among equals. That feeling of exclusive safety was engineered deliberately, because a person who feels safe behaves differently than a person who doesn't, and a person who behaves differently is easier to use. I want to make something clear. Every property I've described is still standing. Most are still operating. The Palm Beach compound was sold in 2020 to a buyer whose identity is protected by a Delaware LLC. The new ownership has made no public statements about what infrastructure, if any, was removed prior to sale. No one has confirmed that it was swept. No one has confirmed that the server in Luxembourg was decommissioned. The Virginia property currently operates as an executive retreat facility. It hosts corporate meetings. It is available for private hire. The current owners, contacted through their publicist, did not respond to questions about the property's surveillance history. The Sun Valley Lodges remain part of an active property portfolio. The annual conference continues. Different lodges, the organizers say, but the same landscape. I want to address something directly because I think it's what you're thinking. If you are a person of any significance, in business, in politics, in media, and you have spent time in a luxury property that was offered to you without charge or at a significant discount by someone whose motivations you did not fully understand, you should know something. The surveillance systems I've described cost, in total installation, approximately $40,000 to $80,000 per property. For someone using those recordings for leverage, that is an extraordinarily low cost. $40,000 to own someone worth billions. That math has not changed. That math is still being run tonight by people in properties you might recognize. I want to go back to the room, the beautiful room with the 1,600 thread count sheets and the stocked bar and the extraordinary view. You're still in it. And now you know something you didn't know at the beginning of this video. That feeling you have right now, that slight shift in how safe a beautiful room feels, that is the correct response. Not paranoia. Calibration. The people who built these systems relied on one thing above all others. The assumption that luxury implies trust. That a beautiful room is a safe room. That someone who offers you something extraordinary is offering it without conditions. These properties are the physical architecture of that assumption. Built to be beautiful. Built to make you comfortable. Built to make you forget to ask who else is in the room. For part 2 of this investigation, we obtained, through a source we are protecting, an actual equipment list from one of the properties I described tonight. The list details every recording device, every transmission system, every server location. It was compiled by the person who installed the system. We're going to show it to you. Pause. 3 seconds. Subscribe. Be here when that drops. This is Apex Abode. The room is always watching.